Hello, welcome to Glass Half Empty Reviews. I'm the Pessimist, and today I'm talking about the cinematic masterpiece known as Blade Runner, directed by Ridley Scott. It looks nice, and it talks about humanity, I guess. I'd give it a 10 out of 10. Bye for now. I know you can't tell because I always sound so bored, but I was being sarcastic. Despite what every shill snob movie reviewer says, this movie isn't a classic. In fact, it sucks. Let me explain why before I get beaten and dragged through the streets. Okay, before I get into the movie, let me counter these two things this movie gets praised for, which is its theme and visual effects. Okay, this is very important, so I hope you hear me out. A movie looking nice is only part of the whole picture. This seems like common sense, but movies do get a pass for excelling in just this category, Avatar being one of them. This movie seems to have focused more on its visuals than character and story, almost as if they were hiding behind them in order to trick the audience into thinking what they were watching was good. So yes, whatever, the effects are good, but who cares? Transformers has great effects, but are those great movies? If you didn't know the answer, it's no. Next is its theme. The theme is very common in science fiction involving robots of some kind and their link to humanity, which doesn't make it inherently bad. The problem is that the movie decides not to really focus on that aspect as much, leaving it feeling rather hollow. See, other science fiction stories explore this aspect much better and more interestingly. I don't care if this was the first one to do it. That doesn't make it the best, let alone even good. If that were the case, Train and Stopping at Station would be hailed as the best film of all time. So you can appreciate the fact that it tried if you want. That doesn't make it any less so of a failure. For the record, I watched the final cut of the film. So if you even think about saying I watched the wrong one, I'm going to continue on with this review anyway. Besides, from what I can tell, there isn't much difference between them. One has narration, one doesn't. One has a dumb unicorn, and the other doesn't. Now that I've officially angered the bearded armchair critics, let me get into this movie proper. So the basic premise of the film, which is given in its opening crawl, is that humanity has built androids, which are known as replicants, to use for slave labor. But after they rebelled... I'm a fucking idiot. But after they rebelled, they became illegal, with special units known as Blade Runners tasked with hunting down any who came to Earth. Our main character, Rick Deckard, is called out of retirement as a Blade Runner to hunt down 4 replicants who appeared in Los Angeles. Simple enough, right? Apparently not for our director. There's no driving force behind the story. Scenes just seem to happen rather than there being a logical progression, making it feel less like an investigation and more like our main character is just stumbling around to where he needs to go. A good example of this is where he shows up at a bar, talks to some guy, the guy tells him to leave him alone, Deckard gets drunk, tries to make a booty call, leaves, and then somehow shows up right where the replicant he was looking for was. I have a couple questions. How did he know she was there? If he knew it was her, why bother trying to be a reporter? And good God, why try to shoot her through the crowd? Seems like the wrong thing to do if you're supposed to be a police officer or whatever. The story seems to be riddled with confusion. Here's some other things I don't understand. The Growing Strong Corporation has a replicant serving as a secretary and are apparently still working on replicants. But aren't they illegal? That's what it said in the opening crawl. Did Pris sleep by the dumpster because she knew that Sebastian would show up, or was that just coincidental? How did she contact Roy? There's many more, but I'll stop there. This movie, in all honesty, is only one scene anyway. You know what scene I'm talking about. It's the scene that's brought up every time this movie is mentioned. The tears and rain scene. I don't care how good snobs think the scene is. Hell, it could be the most poetic shit ever filmed, but the problem is that it's just one scene. The movie needed more of these types of scenes throughout, but it's just a boring mystery film. And don't you dare call this movie subtle about its message. What you call subtle, I call lazy and mishandled. But Pessimist, you must be asking, how was the acting? Surely you mustn't have anything to complain about there. This was Harrison Ford at his prime. Well, someone should have told him that. His performance was boring and lacked any ounce of effort. If your argument is that his character was supposed to be like that, then that doesn't make a very interesting character for your story. If your character couldn't care less about the situation he's in, why should we? Harrison Ford isn't alone in this, which leads me to believe the writing wasn't up to snuff at all. The dialogue is rather stale and sometimes bad. The romance is forced, and Rutger Hauer is just all over the place. So in short, there is very little in this movie I thought worked. Ignoring the visuals and that one scene, I believe the movie is undeserved of its praise. I await the hellstorm to come. Overall, I give this classic a 4 out of 10. This is the part of the video where I shill for Blade Runner 2049. Alright, bye.